Hey, and welcome to video number 3. We're going to talk about the vendor checklist. Now, this video is going to be split up in two parts. Part number 1, I'm going to talk about what you're going to need to have. And part number 2, I'm going to go over the list of the things that you need to have and show you where to get them online. Alright, so first things first, the first thing you're going to need is, of course, your digital product. Now, you're going to have that. You're going to need to have your sales page. If you don't have a download page, that's fine. We're gonna go over that. And if you don't have your sales page yet, that's fine. We'll go over the rules and regulations for the pitch page, but you're still gonna need to create your sales page later on. So you're gonna need your digital product. You're gonna need the files in hand. You're gonna need a domain name. So you're going to go to GoDaddy or Namecheap.com to get a domain name. And it can't be a subdomain name. It's got to be www.whatever your domain is.com or .net or so forth. You're also going to need a pitch page, your sales page, or your thank you page, or your download page, which is two things, pitch page and thank you page. You're also going to need to have website hosting for your pitch page and thank you page. I'll show you where to go to get that. You're going to need to provide customer support via email, help desk, or phone. And recommended, you're going to need either an affiliate page to provide tools for your affiliates, and I'll show you where to get banner ads created and so forth. You're going to need to add your product to the marketplace listing, which of course is just part of Clickbank, and so forth. And you might, as an option, need a vendor hop ad, which is an option as well. It's an ad that you can place on your website, your blog, and so forth to get more sales to your product. But primarily, the things that you're going to need is your digital product, your domain name, your page, thank you page, your website hosting, and your customer support. So with that said, let's move on to part number 2, where I'm going to go through the list and I'm going to show you by a screen capture video exactly what you need and exactly where to get those tools and so forth. So you can move on to video number 4 and get everything set up. Alright, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to walk through the vendor checklist and show you free tools that you can download right away and start using to apply to the setup process of adding your product to Clickbank. So the first thing I talked about is you need a digital product. So let's say you do have that digital product. Since I'm not really talking about how to create the product, you need to find a way to upload that file to your website. So there are several things that you're going to need, but in pertaining specifically to a digital product, you're going to want to zip that file up. If it's a video and you want to place it on your website, you can do that. But if it's an actual file that you want people to download, then you're going to need to zip that file. So you can either zip that file using, let's say, a WinZip. If you have Windows, all you have to do is right click on a file, click on send to, and then click on compressed zip folder. Now, if you don't have that, let's say you don't have that, then you can go to Google and type in WinRAR. WinRAR is a free tool. If you go to rarlab.com, it's basically a program that allows you to zip your files and squeeze your files as small as they can be. WinZip zips your files, but it doesn't really have the option to squeeze your files smaller and smaller. So for example, this is a 48 megabyte file. Let's say I want to zip it. If I right click and click on add to archive, and I'm using WinRAR, and I click on zip and I click on the best, that means it's going to squeeze it all the way down as much as possible to get that file as small as possible. It may not make a huge difference, but it could be the difference between a few megabytes, which if somebody is downloading your files using a dial-up connection or a very slow connection, that could mean a difference between the wait of a few seconds to a few minutes. So that's just something to keep in mind. So you're going to need to have the ability to zip your files and then upload them to your website. So the next thing you're going to need is a domain name. You can either use two things. You can either use GoDaddy, and you're not limited to using GoDaddy or Namecheap, but GoDaddy.com is pretty reputable, and Namecheap.com is also reputable. I use Namecheap. I love Namecheap. You know, they've been great, and all they do is sell domain names and other things, but I use them primarily for domain names. So if you need a domain name, all it is, as you can see, is I think it's about $9.40 something cents. And another thing I would suggest is if you do get, you go to Namecheap and you do get a domain name, go look for like a Namecheap 2011 coupon. You'll find some coupons and you'll get $1 off here and there. So it's not a whole lot of savings, but it is savings. So that's just something to keep in mind. And look for GoDaddy as well. You're going to need a pitch page and a thank you page for your product. Now there are two things in relation to this, or actually three things. The website hosting, you're going to need the ability to upload files from your computer to a website. So you're going to need some sort of FTP file transfer protocol program. And you're going to need a tool that will create your HTML pages, your thank you pages, your pitch pages, and so forth. So those are three things in addition to the domain name and so forth. So you're going to need web hosting. There are two sites that I can recommend personally that I've used that are great. If you only have like one or two sites, then I recommend something like HostGator.com. If you go to HostGator.com, you can go to the web hosting section, and it's roughly about $3.96 a month, which is not bad. And if you view web hosting plans, as you can see, it's really not that bad. And HostGator is very reputable. If you have a lot of websites, let's say you got 5, 10, 20 websites, then it's better if you go with a reseller hosting or a VPS hosting. You don't really need a dedicated server unless you expand, and you really don't. You have a lot of files. So if you have a video product that, let's say, is 1 gigabyte, and you really need really fast speeds, then you don't really need a dedicated server. And as you grow, I would recommend a place called serveint.net. If you go to serveint.net and you go under their VPS section, I would go with something like this instead of going with something like this. You don't need to pay $139. In fact, I've done a lot of launches with big files on this one and this one and this one, and you really don't need a lot. In fact, this is a lot of savings, and this company is great. Now that's it for web hosting. There are two more things I want to show you. That is the WYSIWYG editor tool. So I'm going to go back to Google. There's a program called Composer. And if you go to composer.net, you'll find this program here. Download it. It's free. This tool, we'll be using it in this video series, and it's very easy to use. The next thing you're going to need is you're going to need a file transfer tool. I recommend a program called FileZilla. If you go to filezilla-project.org, it's free. Download it, install it, run it, and we will use that. You'll need to have the web hosting information in order to use FileZilla. For example, your FTP information. If you don't know what that is, HostGator and Servant will provide you with that information, and then you can use that information to basically log into your website and then upload those files. So those are all the tools that you are going to need. With that said, let's go to the recommended resources. For example, the last three things that we recommended earlier in part number 1 was an affiliate page. An affiliate page is basically a page where you provide your affiliates with promotional tools. For example, let's say you want to get banner ads created. There's a site called $20 Banners, which is a good site to use. And as you can see here, you can get good professional banners to use. You want to provide, stuff like articles, blogging articles, possibly videos, possibly Google AdWords ads, solo ads, and so forth. You want to try to fulfill as many marketing avenues as possible, so that you can help your affiliates. If you can help your affiliates promote your products, then that's great. Then they can add your ad to their blog and promote your product. So with that said, I'd advise you to download those free programs, get your website, get your domain name, and get set up and get ready to rock and roll. And we'll move to video number 4, the fun part, where we actually get signed up with Clickbank and we'll get our product onto the Clickbank network.